The roaring engines, the adrenaline rush, the thrill of speed. Welcome to the world of Formula One. With a grid full of supercharged cars and skilled drivers, it's always a spectacle to watch. But what happens when two teammates start fighting for the top spot? That's exactly what went down in the recent race between Red Bull's Perez and Verstappen. Starting in the pole position, Perez had a clear advantage over Verstappen, who was starting from 15th on the grid. But that didn't deter Verstappen. He quickly made his way up the ranks and was soon hot on Perez's tail. The battle between the two Red Bull drivers was intense, to say the least. Verstappen was pushing Perez to his limits, trying to overtake him and take the lead. As the laps went by, tensions rose. It was clear that both drivers were not going to give up without a fight, but their fierce competition was also putting Red Bull's chances of winning in jeopardy. To keep things in check, Perez was given a target lap time by his race engineer Hugh Bird, but Perez didn't have it. "What is Max doing at this time?" he asked. 1 minute 32.6 seconds, Bird replied. "So why are you telling me to do 1 minute and 33 seconds, Perez protested. "We're pushing without a reason." It's not uncommon for a Formula One team to have their cars racing 1, 2, but this internal fight between Perez and Verstappen had an added edge. Verstappen had already stated that the championship was between their two cars due to Red Bull's massive advantage. This meant that neither driver could afford to give an inch, especially Perez, who couldn't let Verstappen's internal supremacy become more rooted within the team. As the race neared its end, the tension between Perez and Verstappen reached a boiling point. It was a relationship-ending exchange that could have cost Red Bull valuable points. But despite the heated exchange, both drivers managed to keep their cool and bring their cars home in first and second place. Sergio Perez, starting from the 15th position on the grid, found himself on a track with barriers in Jeddah, where he usually performs well. But fate had other plans for him. Max Verstappen, his teammate and the current championship leader, had a driveshaft failure in Q2, forcing him to start from the 15th position as well. Perez saw this as an opportunity to prove his worth to the team, and boy did he deliver. Perez's race was not without its fair share of challenges. He felt a vibration coming from behind him during the second part of the race, and Verstappen was able to sense the same. Perez knew that calling Verstappen off was the only way to secure his lead, but Red Bull was not going to beg him to stop racing. In the end, it was Verstappen who made the decision to settle for second place rather than risk an issue with the car with only 10 laps remaining. But Perez was determined to win, and his speed had been near perfect the entire weekend. He carried a feeling of concentrated purpose throughout the race, knowing that a world championship was on the line, and it showed. His performance was impeccable, and he kept pushing forward despite the challenges that came his way. Verstappen, on the other hand, had played the early laps calmly, gaining only a few spots and staying out of trouble. But as the race progressed, he went to work, picking off his competitors one by one. He switched from soft to hard, and even Lewis Hamilton was not safe from his wrath. "I've never seen anything like that before," Lewis remarked of the speed differential. Verstappen moved up to 4th on lap 16, but he was 22 seconds off the lead and 9 seconds behind third-place Russell, thanks to both Ferraris and Esteban Ocon's Alpine stopping before he needed to overtake them. Verstappen benefited from the deployment of the safety car and astute race management during the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. The safety car was deployed for what appeared to be a VSC-type incident, and everyone pitted for hard tires. When the safety car returned with 3/5 of the race remaining, Perez was leading the pack, with Verstappen in second place. Verstappen closed the distance between himself and Perez, who was pushing hard, but it took him 12 laps to reduce the gap from 5.4 seconds to 4.3 seconds. Verstappen noticed a high-pitched screeching sound coming from the back of his car on lap 38, and his throttle had a different balance, indicating a probable driveshaft failure. He radioed the garage, and a team of engineers and analysts scrutinized every parameter in the data, but nothing appeared to be wrong. Despite being told to take it easy and bring the car home, Verstappen refused to give up and continued to push hard. Meanwhile, Perez felt a vibration, and his brake pedal was going long. The issue was examined and cleared, but the battle between the two continued. In a repeat of the Bahrain Grand Prix, Perez made a desperate plea for Verstappen to slow down, but Verstappen ignored the radio calls and continued to push hard. Lambiase, Perez's engineer, asked his driver to reach a goal time much slower than what he was doing over the radio, but Verstappen remained silent. As Perez pushed harder, Verstappen continued to set purple sector times and received a rare track limitation warning. Eventually, Verstappen followed Lambiase's directive with 4 laps to go, and Perez's victory was all but secured. However, Verstappen had one more issue to address with his engineer. He wanted to know the fastest lap time, not least because it would give him the championship lead that would otherwise have gone to Perez. Verstappen did it on the last lap, and Red Bull scored another one, too. But this time, it took a lot more from the team, including custom car components. Anders, the Red Bull team principal, once again stirred up the relationship between the drivers. To make matters worse, Perez believes he was given different information than Verstappen and wants to investigate the events that led to him losing the fastest lap point. Inquiring about the quickest lap during the final laps due to the apparent high stress levels, I asked Verstappen what it was. Verstappen responded by acknowledging that while they had a target lap time to meet, there was still a point on the line and that it was a common question, particularly when it came down to just 2 cars. This was not the first time such a query had been raised, as it had also come up in Bahrain. Meanwhile, Perez, who would have taken the lead in the championship if not for Verstappen's last-minute push for the best lap, appeared caught off guard by the situation. In the cooling room before the podium, he was surprised to learn that Verstappen had set the fastest lap and inquired about the instructions he had received 2 laps from the end. They instructed me to maintain a certain pace, informed me that I had the fastest lap, and asked me to keep up that pace, Perez stated at the subsequent press conference. I believe that the communication was the same for Max, so it's something we need to look into because I received different information and couldn't push towards the end. What do you think? Will we see the end of the Max-Jacko duo this season? The excitement increases with every race, making it a fascinating season. Share your views in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for the latest F1 news. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.